Now friends, I love when new books come out. I love getting new books, we know this. Also hate how for most people, most anticipated release is synonymous to I'm definitely going to read it. And with me, you just never know. A new year is upon us, friends, which means that there's gonna be loads of new book releases. And I thought I'd put together a video with the things that I am anticipating the most from all sorts of genre, from fantasy all the way to romance and literary fiction. And so I do try and screen everything in a way that allows me to sort of familiarize myself with what's coming out in a given year, and then I make these lists so that I know kind of what to aim for. If I want to buy a new book, if I want to borrow something from the library, if maybe I don't know what to read and a new book is coming out, it's all very nice to know for that reason. For now, if I counted correctly, I have 23 anticipated releases for this year, and like always, I'm nosy. I want to know what your anticipated releases are. Let a girl know everything you're anticipating down in the comments, because I think it's also a really great way to maybe find a few new titles that I haven't heard of or that people in the comments have also not heard of. But we do have to pause and double pause because this video would not be complete without the sponsor, and that is a book of the month. If you guys are not familiar with book of the month, let me tell you exactly why I love them and exactly why they're my favorite book subscription service. Every single month, they have the very special mission of promoting new and emerging authors and helping readers find books that they love. They do so through vetting through hundreds of books so that they can provide you with a list of new and early release titles so that you can spend more time reading and less time researching. Every single month they'll have 5 to 7 book titles to choose from a variety of different genres so that you can choose what to read and you can receive your stunning blue box every single month. The 2 books I chose this month were The Reunion and Lunar Love. First, for The Reunion, it literally deals with a cast that is being reunited after 20 years of ending the original show, and particularly our main character and the love interest will have to deal with all of the drama happening behind the scenes that could potentially lead them to falling in love now. And then Lunar Love, which will transform the matchmaker into the matchmaked. I don't know if that's a word, but let's just go with it. Because as a professional matchmaker, she might just get her heart stolen this time around. With book of the month, if it is your first month, you can use my code MelReads and get your very first book for $9.99, which is an absolute steal. So I will be leaving all of the info at the top of the description so you guys can go check them out, and let's get right on with it. And we're starting off strong with our very first anticipated release, and that is A Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, the very last installment in the Last Hours trilogy, which is sort of this bridge series between the Infernal Devices and the Mortal Instruments, which are her 2 OG series. And in the Last Hours, we follow the children from the characters we met, knew, and loved in the Infernal Devices, and we are set in a time where there is a plague going on in the Shadowhunter world, and these kids will have to figure out exactly what's happening, how to stop it, and then, as always, fight all evil forces, which to me is just very comforting. I have loved the Shadowhunter world for years. I think in general, not talking about the stories in particular for each series, but I think as an overarching thing, the worlds that Cassandra Clare has built for this series is just absolutely phenomenal. And again, I find it very comforting because I started this series a decade ago, and so it's just something I can continuously go back to and trust. I also need to figure out if I want to reread book 2 before that comes out, but I feel like maybe a reread for both books 1 and 2 could ensue. Another one of my auto-buy authors is coming out with a book this year, and that is R.F. Kuang with Yellowface. I love that every single time she releases something, it's something different. We've seen the historical fantasy, we've seen the historical fiction, and now we're diving into literary fiction. I believe it's the umbrella it would qualify for. I am super excited about this one because we follow 2 authors, June and Athena, who are basically lined up for literary success. They both are at the same year at Yale. They both have the same publishing year for their debuts, and they both think they're going to be super successful, except that Athena ends up being a lot more successful than June. So when Athena has a strange accident, June takes it upon herself to take her newest manuscript, flip that around in a way that feels her own, but still captures the essence of what Athena initially wrote, publish that as her own work under a Chinese pseudonym, and go from there. I think the title says it all. And listen to the very last bit of the synopsis, at least that's on Goodreads. It says, Yellowface takes on questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, not only in the publishing industry, but the persistent erasure of Asian American voices and history by Western white society. As always, I'm super excited to see what she's going to do. Sil is also very excited about what R.F. Kuang is going to do with this one, and I can't wait to read it. Emily Henry is also coming out with a new book, and this one I am making sure I am walking into when it gets here with minimal expectations, with minimal knowledge of what this book is about, because with book lovers, I walked in with just a completely different expectation of what the book would do. But I do know the bare minimum, which is that we follow a couple who was broken up months ago or is broken up for some time. However, they still pretend to be together when they go on their annual week-long vacation with their best friends, and then I will assume things will happen. Perhaps they'll get back together. Who knows? It's a romance book. Anything is possible. I feel like every big author is coming out with a new book in 2023, whereas some of them missed out. I guess not missed out, but sort of missed publishing in 2022. Grady Hendrix also has another book coming out this year, and it is How to Sell a Haunted House. This smells like generational trauma to me because the tagline itself, every childhood home is haunted and we are all possessed by our parents. I don't know if I'm the only one, but it sounds like generational trauma will be exposed, explored in some way in this book, and I'm quite here for it. We follow two estranged siblings who have not talked to each other in ages. However, they need to come together after the death of their parents, and one of the things they inherit is their childhood home. They both need money and they both need to list this house. In order to get money, they need to do that as fast as possible. However, things are not as easy as it seems, and I'm sure that when they go back to the house, they're probably going to be faced with a lot of difficulty. But I'm quite excited to see what he's going to do with this one, because I think with My Best Friend's Exorcism, I think he perfectly toed that line between seriousness but also campiness, and I don't know where this is going to fall on. I don't quite know if this is still going to be camp or if this is going to be more serious. Still very excited though. Next up, we have Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, which is the sequel to Ninth House. So I think with this one, a lot of crazy things are going to happen. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Obviously, because it is a sequel, I can't give you like a full-on synopsis. It is a dark academia, and we basically follow Alex Stern, who works for the secret societies in Yale, and there are several mysteries to solve throughout the course of the first book, a series of murders happening, and also the disappearance of Darlington, who is one of the main cast members. But we don't really see him a lot because he's obviously disappeared, and so it's amazing. I personally love it. I love Alex as the main character. I think it's one of those characters that has gone through a lot, and it obviously massively explains exactly why she acts the way she does, and it should be on its way because it already came out. A little sip of water before we continue. A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the sequel but prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. Now, Priory of the Orange Tree is one of those books that I read and I initially really liked. The more I think about that book, I think just as a construction of the world building wise, more than anything, there are a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense to me. So there are a lot of strengths as there are a lot of weaknesses to that book. However, what I will say is that it is a great intro book to adult fantasy. And in this prequel, basically what we'll see are the events that shaped the world as we see it at the start of Priory. And we'll see all of those events being shaped particularly by 3 different POVs. It seems like a sister of the Priory, who's named Tanuva. We're also going to follow Queen Sabrin and her daughter Glorian, as well as Dumai, who is trying to wake the gods. Again, I feel like it makes no sense that maybe I didn't really love Priory that much, but I'd still be willing to read this one, but I am, because it looks really, really cool. Next book I am quite looking forward to is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, which is a spin-off series, companion series to the Folk of the Air series, The Cruel Prince, Wicked King, and then Queen of Nothing. I reread The Cruel Prince last year, and then I finished out the series and read the novella, and I actually quite fell in love with it. I think there's something very charming about the series, even though it is not a perfect series. I can definitely see the appeal of it now after having read everything, and so I'm quite curious to see what this is going to do, because we are going to be following Oak, which is Jude's brother, half-brother. Anyways, semantics. We're gonna follow him in a journey, and I don't know anything about this book. I did place a hold on Libby, trying to go into it as blind as possible, no prior knowledge of anything. I'm hoping to love it. I hope it's really good. Finley Donovan number 3 is also coming out this year. Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I actually need to figure out when this book comes out. I don't know the release dates for most of these books, so I know a lot of them are coming out in January, and I need to figure out exactly when, because I do need to place some pre-orders or just order books in general, or place holds on Libby. If you don't know what Finley is about, by the way, I'm not obviously going to give you a synopsis for book 3, but the overall vibe is that we follow a single mom who is also a writer, who has incidentally fallen into the pit holes of being an assassin for hire, though that is far away from what she actually is, and she is now involved with the mafia. She has met every person under the sun that's either good or really, really bad. And so it's just hilarious because it's all of these very unlikely scenarios, but the way that it's written about, it's super engaging. There's always a good plot twist to look forward to. I personally love it, and I can't wait to see what book 3 does. Fonda Lee is not coming out with a full book this year, but she is coming out with a novella, which is Untethered Sky. And you guys know, I loved Greenbone, and I would love to see her writing in different areas of fantasy / sci-fi. It is basically exploring the conversation of pursuing your goals or pursuing something, pursuing particularly in this case, obsession at all costs. Because we follow the main character whose mom and brother have been killed, assassinated, I guess killed is a better word for it, by a manticore, and she wants to avenge her family. And that's all I know, obviously, because I didn't want to read the whole synopsis. The synopsis is quite long, but I thought that the more I read, probably the more charm it would lose, just because it's a novella and it's going to be very short to begin with. Next up, we've got A Tempest of Tea, which is going to be Hafsa Faisal's next release, and I am so excited about this because we have vampires in this one. I swear to everything that's good and holy in this world, if she gives us a romance with a vampire. Hafsa Faisal, I am begging you. Anyways, in this one, we follow a group of outcasts who has to come together to perform a heist in order to save our main character Arthy's tea room, which fronts an illegal blood house that sells fresh blood to vampires. Again, I am hoping there's a vampire romance in here. I will be very disappointed if there isn't, but at the same time, I feel like it's probably gonna be like a romance between like the group of outcasts. I don't know, but I want a vampire romance so bad. I feel like we need more vampire books that are actually good, because every time I try and read a vampire book, they're all bad. We not only have one Cassandra Clare release, we've got 2, because she's also coming out with her adult debut this year, and that is Swordcatcher. Now, the cover was revealed a few days ago, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's like ridiculous. It is giving me kind of like Chris Colfer, the Neil Patrick Harris book. It's giving me like middle grade vibes. I won't complain though, because it's really, really pretty. And based on what I heard a while ago when this book was still being written, we had no more info. I know what was said about this book is that we were going to follow a prince and his body double, and then something would happen to the prince and then the body double would take over. I'm gonna walk into this knowing nothing, because that's what I did with the Mortal Instruments, walked into it knowing nothing way back when. And so now I don't want to know anything about this because don't want to set anything up, just want to walk into it blindly. At this point, I have read enough of her books to know that her writing is good. That's all we're doing. We're just walking in blind. Also, another author that is quickly becoming a favorite of mine that is coming out with a new book, but this time it's an adult romance. That is Lynn Painter. She is coming out with a love wager. We basically follow our main character who decides to be an adult after crawling out of a hotel room. She decides to buy a new apartment, just like start a new life, start a new job, start like all the new things. And that also means getting on a dating app for some serious dating and hopefully meeting the love of her life through that app. However, she ends up literally in the app meeting the person whose hotel room she escaped from. And the two will strike up like this fake dating situation in order to like get what they want, I think. And I'm here for the fake dating. I am here for the crawling out of a hotel room. Lynn Painter, don't do me wrong. Next on my list, I've got She Is a Haunting, and the first thing that caught my eye literally was the cover. Like, it just caught my eye very, very quickly, and then when I jumped into the synopsis, it literally says for fans of Mexican Gothic, and like, how did you know? How did you know that is me? I am the fan. If there is nobody cheering for Mexican Gothic, then I am indeed dead. The setup for this one is that we follow Jade as she goes on a trip to Vietnam for a visit to her estranged father. While she is there, she believes that by pretending to be everything she believes she is not, she will get the college money she was promised so that she can go back home and then fulfill all of her dreams. However, the house she is staying in, which is her father's house, has other plans because every day she wakes up paralyzed. She has bugs all around her, strange noises all around her, and she really can't figure out exactly what's happening, but nobody in the house believes her because nobody else is seeing it, nobody else is feeling it. And if Mexican Gothic is anything to go by, everybody's lying, okay? Everybody knows. Rebecca Ross, the author of A River Enchanted, also has another book coming out this year. cover. This one's called Divine Rivals, and I just know I'm going to love this one. We have a world where the gods are warring again, which immediately a great start to a synopsis. And in that world, we follow our main character Iris, who, to distract herself from the worries of her everyday life, is really dead set on earning that promotion, that really elite position at the newspaper she either works in or is going into, but I would assume she already works there if we're talking about a promotion. But it all gets a little bit complicated because she thinks she is sending letters to her brother through like a magical door of some sort, but those letters are actually reaching her arch nemesis and main competitor for said job, Roman, and they might fall in love and it's enemies to lovers, and it sounds so good. I can't wait. It's so different to A River Enchanted, A Fire Endless, like those vibes, so I can't wait to see what she'll be able to do and accomplish in this setting. I remember seeing this book on Twitter and I immediately screenshotted it. I saved it because I had to remember to put that book in this video. It is The Fraud Squad. The cover for this book is what initially got me. Don't know a lot about the synopsis and I'm trying to keep it that way, but I do know we follow a working class woman as she infiltrates Singapore's high society in order to fulfill her dreams. I'm pretty sure she's also a journalist of some kind. I don't know anything. Sally Hibbert is also coming out with a new book. I think it's already out. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. I literally have a whole ass list on my computer that I'm currently looking at, in which we follow a content creator and an athlete trying to survive life outdoors. I'm sure there will be some mentions of mental illness, mental health, and all of its nuances, maybe something about neurodivergency of some kind. I don't know, we'll see. I have no idea. This one also sounds super good, and it is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. It's a very long title. Anyways, the premise of this is a lonely shopkeeper who finds a dead body in the middle of her tea room, and she decides that the police won't do as good a job as a Chinese mother with a lot of time in her hands, and so she will take it upon herself to solve exactly what went down. And I am super excited about this. It is a cozy mystery, and I just, it sounds so good and wholesome. I can't wait. A book that I know a lot of people have been talking about also as one of their anticipated releases, and that is God Killer. This actually sounds super cool, and you guys know there's just this deep fascination I have with like deities, gods, and any stories revolving around that, and so this one also sounds really cool. We follow our main character Kissin, who is a god killer. She does that for a living and she enjoys it, which is like a very good differentiating factor, I guess, for this book. But things get a little bit more complicated when she finds a god she can't kill, and some strange connection with a noble girl on the run. So I'm excited about this. That's all I know. Also, the synopsis for this is super short. Like, there really isn't a lot of info on this book, but it sounds like something I could love. We also have a new Percy release. The fact that Rick Riordan lied to all of us and he was like, Percy Jackson's over, and then he just ups and decides to announce a new Percy series. The first book is The Chalice of the Gods, and when I tell you I am excited about it, I surely am. Now I definitely need to catch up with everything. Typically his releases are like September, October, and this one, the whole group is coming back together because they're all gonna try and help Percy get into college because the gods are standing in his way. I need that. Will I also need to read The Trials of Apollo before I read this? Am I gonna have to be caught up in the entire Percy Jackson universe? Because Magnus Chase is also connected to that. Am I gonna have to read all of them this year? Is that where I'm at? Somebody let me know. The author of Funny You Should Ask is also coming out with a new book, Once More with Feeling, and I cannot wait to read this one. We follow a global pop star who has everything she wants, couldn't meet. She's got the glitz and glam, the fame, the success, the boyfriend, and then she messes it all up by getting involved with one of his bandmates. And now she's no longer famed or adored, but after many a year, she might be getting a second chance from the person she fucked it all up with, actually, by being cast in a Broadway show he is directing. It speaks to my soul. I don't know if this next book is going to work for me or against me. The Haunting of Alejandra. I grew up being terrified. Still to this day, full disclosure, I am. I'm gonna keep it real. Of La Llorona. I can't do that. It's just terrifying. The notion of it is terrifying. We're not gonna do all that. Especially when my family members are always like, I have stories or I have this. I'm like, no thank you. No gracias. Yo estoy bien. A mí no me vengan con cuentos. Even saying it out loud freaks me out. I feel like if I say it too many times, like something's gonna knock on wood. I think this book is gonna freak me out. And the book explores generational trauma and the story behind every woman that came before you. And that's kind of all I know. Even thinking about it freaks me out. Maybe, will I read this? I don't know, it sounds cool. We are down to our very last two books, friends, and the very first one is Stars and Smoke by Mary Lou. We follow Winter Young, who is a backup dancer turned global superstar. Because of that, he is contacted by a Panacea group, I think it's called, because they want him to go undercover as a spy to take down like a criminal tycoon, because said tycoon's daughter wants a private concert from Winter Young, and so it's kind of like the best of both worlds in this situation. Except he won't go on his own because we have Sydney, who will be doubling as his bodyguard, and she's immune to his charms and everything he stands for, which is something I think will end up making them both like each other. And I love that. And last but not least, the author of The Push is also coming out with a new book this year, and that is The Whispers, which sounds amazing. Again, know the bare minimum. There is a whole synopsis, but I want to walk in as blind as possible. I know it's a story about envy, motherhood, and the intuitions that we ignore, and what it means or what happens when good people make bad choices. And I think that sounds absolutely fascinating. Can't wait to see the cover. Can't wait to see what it does. There's that. And that is it, friends. Those are all of my most anticipated releases at the moment. I am sure the more things are announced, or the more books you guys leave down in the comments, I'm sure I'll find something. The more I scroll on Twitter, Instagram, wherever it is, I'm sure I'll find a new book that will become an anticipated release. So if anything else comes up, I will keep you updated. If I haul anything, I will keep you updated. If I read anything, I'll obviously let you guys know. But do let it all know down in the comments if you're excited about any of these books, or if there are others I didn't mention that you are excited about. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't done so already as well for more bookish videos like this one. And if you want to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon. It is always linked down in the description. And more than anything, if you want loads of live shows of all kinds for gaming, for movies, for sprints, for books, for just all the good things, Patreon is the place to be, because we live stream quite a bit. And alongside that, you'll also be able to find all of my social medias in case you want to see me anywhere else, though I am mostly active here and on Patreon. Love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye!